having a lot of focus on various forms of school paper drawings to large drawings that being part of the installation. I think I was given a sketchbook and I thought, oh God, I hate, books and having everything in one volume here. I started when I got the house in Meadows, which is interesting because that was the first sort of dedicated volume. What I did is I wrote in the journal one way, and then I decided to flip the book over, and on the other side I had all the art ideas. So it's a volume that, puts together two parts of my life that were really important at the time. We start with the drawing, the idea starts with the drawing. So there, the song and day had such large ears. I was kind of surprised as I had started this costume. The faces very long, but really look like, so I had to kind of document, take the ears off and remove these ears. I have to remove shaky ears. I'm trying to darken my eyes here to make it kind of bear-like, but also this kind of dark, coloring. With bear, I mean, it's kind of like this stuffed teddy bear head. It may be kind of, playful in many ways, but there's also a deeper undercurrent there that you might experience here. So but for some reason, in this particular area, it's so intertwined and bending. The winds must be pretty ferocious. The first one is very about the loss of my experience in this landscape. I'm trying to, come to terms with my environment and everything. Okay. I have a lot to look at this. We're going to look at this back here. But yeah, kind of wrestling and a kick, which is good.
So thanks everybody for coming. It's so wonderful to see so many people tonight, and also to see friends of Colette Urbans and students and her teachers and colleagues. I think Catherine and I did a brilliant job with the film, and so on behalf of the board of Open Space, we're very happy to welcome you to Open Space and to the traveling exhibition, or I keep calling it the traveling exhibition. It's museum curse, the Traveling Republic. Of course, it's kind of a pop-up embassy that happens to be on the unceded territory of the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nations. And given the great news from the Supreme Court yesterday, there's probably going to be a lot of changes in that unceded territory that we're also grateful for. There were a lot of people involved with the Traveling Republic. Jerry Lynn Mackey has been here for 10 days? 2.5 like just hours ago that you arrived. And she's been really active, talking to everybody in town, tourists. She's a personal friend of the mayor. I have never seen anybody work with the mayor. The mayor. Fortunate, pardon me. Did I mispronounce that with May? Yes, I didn't. We've had a intelligent breakfast, we've had parades, we've had an ugly stick workshop, and God knows what else. It's just been busy. So I have to read all these names. There's so many people that have been involved. First of all, the staff at Open Space, always great. And there's some new staff for the summer, so I want to make sure you all know who they are. But I'd like to thank Miles Giesbrecht, our technician right over here. I'd like to thank Doug. We'll just maybe applause it. Okay. I had a lecture tonight about how long these remarks last. So I'm trying to hustle along. Doug Jarvis, right over here. Sophie Poyan. Sophie. Heidi. Oh, there she is. Sophie, right beside the light. And the summer students, Alexis Hogan. Somewhere. You'll see it later. I'll hold up a big sign. Steve Bjornson, who couldn't be here tonight, and Shannon and Jose Luis right here. Well, there's Alexis right there. And Sarah Pruckman just finished on Wednesday. And I think she'll probably show up later this evening. I'd like to thank our volunteers, Lindsay Martin, Ben Easterbrook, Sarah Mile, Emily Green, and Hobie Pires. I'd like to thank Julie Urban, Melanie Townsend from Museum London. There's a beautiful catalog for sale, and they've been very supportive in developing this exhibition. David Morrish, Scott Bolden, Neil Roberts, John Harris, Colleen Mackey, my mama, I'm thinking Josh Boyles, Kirk Hewlett, Carla Hewlett, Gary Smith, Pam, and Rick Wilkins. And I'd like to thank the funders, the BC Arts Council, the Canada Council for the Arts, the City of Victoria, BC Gaming, and also the Arts Council of Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. The Traveling Republic represents the work of kind of an intergenerational triad. Jerry Lynn Mackey, Colette Berman, and Ingrid Perry Percy. Oh dear, it's just getting worse tonight. Did I have too much wine?
Never too much wine.
No.
Yeah.
So Jerry Lynn Mackey, who's been with us a while, is a performance artist, high energy, very athletic. I've never seen anybody walk that long playing a tuba in high heels.
Yeah.
With a synthetic dress. Yeah,
That was the killer, the synthetic dresses.
Yeah, it was just amazing.
It was good. That was good.
So she has a BFA from Memorial University, and she's also a radio talk show host, and DJ. And she's been busy working it all during this time. In fact, I think you got up at 3 a.m. or something to call in.
My show back home, twice, because I called once to say hello and how everything was going. And then he ended the conversation, my co-host ended the conversation by saying, "We're going to hear from her again on Monday morning, so call again."
Anyway, yeah, it's been wonderful working with you. And I sometimes think, I felt like Colette is kind of reincarnated here. I first met Colette in the early 80s. I was working at AKA Artist Run Center. And I was looking after the gallery while the real coordinators weren't there. And I read this statement about this artist, Colette Urban, who's going to be doing China painting. And I thought, what? So, I thought, oh great, I'm going to have to hustle up a bunch of plate hangers. So she arrived, and she was really nice, and then she brought out these China plates that had been hand painted as a gray dust storm of the prairies. And the bottom edge of the plate had been cut off and gilded. They were just so beautiful. They just seemed like the perfect antidote to prairie landscape painting, because they were so true and they're so just gorgeous. And so if you bought one, you got a bonus gift. I think bonus gift. I can't remember exactly how this worked, but it involved a life-sized solid chocolate gopher. And she had them all over the floor, if I'm not mistaken. So every time a plate sold, the floor got this gopher. And she's just such an exuberant character. Everybody in Saskatoon just loved her. And over the years, you know, I sort of followed her career. And every once in a while, I was lucky enough to run into her and saw her in Banff, and of course back in Saskatoon and many other places. And she taught at Western in London, Ontario. And I remember I saw her shortly after she bought her first chunk of land out in Newfoundland, and she was just so thrilled with that land. It was the best thing that ever happened to her. And I used to tease her about being the Baroness. She kept buying more land.
She did buy more land.
Yeah.
They put her on council. She bought so much land. Yeah.
So Peter and Mary Kersey is, we're really lucky because we see a lot of her here. I guess you're like coastal, isn't that what you said?
That's so bad.
It sounds, this doesn't sound
It's
right.
kind of good though.
So people at ExhibitVic probably know her as a teacher and as a student. She received her MA at ExhibitVic, just like Colette did.
Yes, that's right.
And she's shown nationally and internationally. And there's another really important thing about Ingrid. She's one of 2 Victorians that are on the Canadian Artist Representation National Board. She was one of the people that was there when the Supreme Court supported artists, the National Gallery of Canadian Artists Exhibition. Really great. So we're so happy and proud to have you here. And I invite all of you to congratulate Colette, Ingrid, and Jerry Lynn. So
It's so sweet. Thank you so much. We need an ugly stick to keep us company up here.
Maybe we do. Well, it's been really amazing working here at Open Space for the last, I've been here about a week and a half, and the staff has been incredible, really incredible. And so I think we're just going to walk through this exhibition and give you guys a little bit of a tour of the show, if that sounds okay with you. So, yeah, where do you want to start, Jerry Lynn?
Let's start over with Colette.
Yes, let's start with Colette.
So these are reproductions, 1-to-1 scale reproductions, and they're the final body of work that Colette completed. And she was determined to finish the work before she passed away.
Yeah. So basically, the exhibition as a whole was conceived of by the 3 artists, by me and Jerry Lynn and Colette, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And what we wanted to do was kind of bring a little piece of Newfoundland and Labrador to British Columbia, to Victoria, BC. But unfortunately, Colette, she passed away before this exhibition could be realized here in Open Space. But we were able to include her work here, which was great. Like Colette, as you saw in the film, she loved Newfoundland, Labrador. She had a history here with Victoria, and I'm connected here with Victoria as well. And I live in Newfoundland and Labrador. Jerry Lynn lives there. So we're just basically trying to. This is like basically like it's an unofficial embassy of Newfoundland and Labrador. We got the flag. We got the soil. Yeah. Once you're on this soil, like you're safe. You're safe.
You're with us.
Yeah. Kind of a motif of the exhibition is the tricolor, which is the unofficial flag of Newfoundland and Labrador. The official provincial flag was designed by Christopher Pratt, and it doesn't look like that. It looks kind of like a Union Jack. But that flag represents the sort of the Republic of Newfoundland. So it represents Newfoundland as a kind of an autonomous entity.
Independent sort of country
Yeah.
to itself.
Which it was until 1949 when it joined Canada.
And that was tumultuous. It was a 51-49 vote, and many Newfoundlanders believed that the vote was rigged.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
but I mean,
Indeed.
I think of myself as a Canadian, but my parents were born before 1949, and they see themselves as Newfoundlanders first, and that's very common for even people who are not born before that time. So it's a popular thing to say, free Newfoundland, and I'm part of Newfoundland Republic.
Yes, yes, bye.
Yeah,
This is kind of right when I say it. Yes, bye.
Yes, bye.
Yeah, I know. We do have Newfoundlanders here tonight, by the way. We've got Shannon Boyle, and Paul Benoit from Corner Brook. And Jerry Lynn's of Trinity. So anyway, this is Colette's work, body of work that they are India ink and collages that she made as she was actually becoming ill. She was having pain in November 2012, and she started making these collages and was diagnosed with cancer and ended up passing away 6 months later. So it's a kind of really significant body of work, and we're really happy to have it here. We also have like little didactic information if you're curious about that. This piece here is called Road Trip. It's my work. It's a series of photographs of Newfoundland and Labrador. It's a big province. It takes 10 hours to drive across the province of Newfoundland, or the island of Newfoundland. This first image here is of Colette Irwin's house in Meadows. It's a traditional biscuit box house. And then there's a series of images that, for me, represent what it's like to live and work in Newfoundland and Labrador. This series of photographs started with, I started by taking photographs of hand-painted signs. This was the first photograph. I'm really interested in when you kind of go into rural Newfoundland and Labrador, there's a real DIY kind of aesthetic that people have. Like they pretty much, if you need a stop sign in rural Newfoundland, you basically just get a piece of plywood that you just found, like that was probably like, what, like, it may have been a piece of something else.
Found on the beach.
Found on the beach, basically. Paul's helping me out here. You kind of just cut it up, paint it with a bit of paint, and you stick it up, and that becomes the stop sign. So there you go, like done, right? So I just love that kind of DIY aesthetic. But for me, like I come from a painting background, so when I travel into rural Newfoundland, to me, I see that as a found painting. So I'm really interested in looking at kind of found paintings and this kind of creative spirit that exists in everybody and is manifested in different ways. So on the didactic panel here, there's a list of a description of what these images are. This is a beautiful kind of found painting. There's Santa Claus and we support our troops.
They go together.
They go together so well, exactly. And then, I mean, this is like super poignant as well. This is a graveyard on the north shore of the Bay of Islands, and like you see a lot of this, like handmade graves, and then, you know, somebody's just kind of written in felt pen, maybe Morgan. So I just really love that. So I've just been documenting that kind of stuff in Newfoundland. So that's what this piece is about. And then over here we have a map of Newfoundland, kind of one of those
touristy kind of thing.
Well,
you get at the gas station.
I see that. You see, I see this as kind of the map that I would see in an atlas when I was like in elementary school, you know. But anyway, I love all the pictorial stuff. You got the moose, you got the Exploits River, the caribou, you know, the lobster, you know, all the the white coat seals, right? So it's all there. Anyway,
It's true. No. We support the seal hunt in Newfoundland. Very much so. We support the hunt.
We do. We do, actually, yeah. It's an important part.
Drive Pamela Anderson out of the province.
We don't like Pamela Anderson.
That's true. We offered her money. She offered us $1 million to stop the seal hunt. And someone offered her $5,000 to stop acting.
You know, he actually offered her $1 million to stop acting. He was like, if you want to give up your livelihood for $1 million, we'll give up ours.
Because it's not an easy
political.
Yeah, right.
That's okay. It's all right. It's all good.
Yes, why?
So these things here, ugly sticks. And so as part of this exhibition, we have an ugly stick workshop and parade. And you tell me.
Can you do it up?
An ugly stick is a traditional Newfoundland instrument. Helen's has got the cool sort of.
And you're never alone on stage with your ugly stick.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
So we had an ugly stick workshop, so these are basically an ugly stick is an instrument, as you can tell. It's a percussive instrument, obviously, like we're hitting them and they're making sound. Yeah, it's just, I first saw ugly sticks when I was artist in residence at Terranova Park in Newfoundland in 2004. And I was at this campsite and somebody pulled out an ugly stick and kind of was dancing with it, like it was their kind of partner. And I was like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like, this is completely freaky, right? And so I had to learn how to make one, right? So basically an ugly stick, it's a lock or a stick of anything, any kind. What you do is take a bunch of bottle caps, washers, a bunch of things that you have lying around, recycled materials, you attach it to the stick and it's used as an instrument in kitchen parties. So we had a workshop here to make them, and then we had a parade. So,
And really an ugly stick is never finished because one day you'll be like walking into your garage because you don't have sheds. And you'll find a doodad or a doohickey and you'll be like, that's going on the ugly stick.
it's going on the ugly stick, my
So
dear.
you can, yes, they're finished, but really they're never finished.
Yes.
My dear.
If you guys want to add anything, by the way.
Any Newfoundlanders who want to speak up.
You do. Good job here.
Yeah, and this here, this is a map of the island of Newfoundland. This would be, if anybody's from Newfoundland, you may get a little tear in your eye when you look at this, and you see the tricolor and the island of Newfoundland. This is a piece, this is one piece. It's called Blaze. It's a performative drawing that I'm going to be making after I talk. And the reason this is included in the exhibition is because this is a piece that I developed at Full Tilt, Creative Center. When I moved to Newfoundland in 2008, I lived with Colette, but I've known her since the mid-1980s when she was my prof at the Emily Carr University. So Colette and I were really good friends, and when I moved to Newfoundland in 2008, I lived with her at Full Tilt. And what was wonderful about Colette was that she kind of created a space for anything to happen. You could kind of say to her, hey Colette, I want to
Climb in a dryer.
climb a dryer, which is what Jerry Lynn did. And Colette would go, that's wonderful. She would just, that's wonderful. You know, and you go, okay, right? And you just kind of do it. And then, so when I was living there, I said, Colette, I kind of want to drill like 21 holes into your wall. She was like, that's wonderful. So I did it. And I'm personally.
I remember that.
I'm really interested in pattern and repetition and systemic kind of drawing. And so I'm really interested in spiral graph and shapes like that. So when I was making this at Full Tilt, when Colette allowed me to drill 21 holes into her wall, I was in the studio and I was making it. And as I was making it, I was thinking, oh no. I realized when I was making it that the piece was not just the finished product, but it was the performative act of making the drawing. So the reason I said, oh no, is because I really don't consider myself a performance artist, but I knew as soon as I started making it that it had to be performance. So later on, I'm going to start making this. You don't have to watch me. We can just like drink over there, drink beer. I'll just be like making it over here. But it's a systematic drawing. It's very mathematical, and there will be a pattern at the end. So there's a piece I developed there, and including that on the show. So we'll move over here. Just a couple of pieces left. This is a piece that Jerry Lynn did as a performance.
There you go. So, the original was called A Clown Painting a Dory because in Newfoundland, if you want to make money, you got to paint a dory, okay, which is a traditional boat. If you want work to sell, I mean, it's not a huge fine art selling market. So as a performance artist, I wanted to be able to use that sell factor, taboo kind of touristy imagery, but I wanted to approach it in a way that I could still, I guess, be authentic to who I am. So my sister went to Value Village, and she came home with a clown suit. And when she walked through the door, my parents said, "That's for Jerry Lynn." And she was like, "Yeah." And then she sent it to me in Corner Brook, and she said, "Do something with this clown suit, you freak." So I was like, "Okay, all right." And like, I put it on, and I could already feel that like something's going to happen in this clown suit, and I didn't know what. So I put it away for a while. And then, you know, my dad was like, "Probably you should paint a dory if you want to." You gotta make something right. He couldn't figure out how I got through a fine art degree without ever taking a painting course. So, anyway, what it boiled down to was me donning a clown suit and banging my head against the wall. And surprisingly, it's pretty representational. That's the weird part, that it actually, because what I do, as you can see, it's a ponytail, and then another one, another one, another one. So I do actually have an apparatus that I sort of can control. But I've cut my hair, so I think it got easier when I cut my hair. Like I had really, really long hair, so it was like a difficult point.
It used to be like, what, 3 feet
flailing
long?
around like an elephant trunk, right? So it gets a lot of attention. The first time I performed it was at a farmer's market in Corner Brook, and Colette was there at her table selling her full tilt organic products, and she was right behind me the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, the whole time she was working. She was working, and she was literally right behind me. And I heard my mother-in-law talking to her, and she said, my mother-in-law is very religious, and she totally ruined my cool. She said to Colette, she said, "You know, Colette, we don't know what you're doing here, but you're an excellent role model for Jerry Lynn." Jerry Lynn thinks that I prayed you into her life. So Colette was really a gift, and the gift just keeps on inspiring, and yeah, like here I am right now. So when you and Colette invited me to join this show, I've said it before, but it's really true. I felt like I was being like invited into my older sister's room to like hang with the cool kids. So thank you, and thank you Open Space for being so supportive, you know. And it's been bittersweet because I keep wishing Colette was here, but then I feel her here. So there it is. It's pretty ugly. And it'll probably sell. Where's the mayor? Is the mayor here yet? This was the kind of magic that would happen at Full Tilt. So, as you know, my mother-in-law prayed Colette to Newfoundland, and I couldn't understand it. Like, I felt so lucky to have her as an inspiration. And this was after climbing in the dryer, painting with my hair, and I had done all of the different things that people were like, "Oh yeah, her," right? So I wanted to give back to Colette, and I'm a firm believer in giving someone roses when they're alive. So I thought the biggest, the most loud sign that you could possibly make would be a Hollywood sign. So the letters were as big as my kitchen floor at the time. And everyone came together. Once they saw that I had the letters there in the field, everybody, Gerard Curtis, my partner, they're like the doctorate of art history in Corner Brook, was there the whole morning. Like, and he's handy, but he's not like a contractor. And he's like sweating and getting the letters out.
And having a little bit of trouble with it.
Yeah, it was difficult to get them to stand like that, but the goal was that it would be seen from the water and seen from the other side of the bay. So you had to use a zoom lens when you got on the other side of the bay. You could tell there was something written over there, which would spike your curiosity, and then you, what the hell, what's the hell? So anyway, my idea was to make this publicity stunt installation. And the magic that happens is a professional photographer was in residence at Full Tilt at the time, and he was just waltzing through the field. He was just like, I'm not getting the boat tonight. I'm not going. I'm not leaving. And he was just going around taking photos. His name's Scott Walden. They pushed him out the door for him to get the ferry. Because once you get there,
He now basically lives the half line
in Newfoundland, he got bitten. Yeah. So when this photo was taken, I was playing popcorn on the tuba, which is dun 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 dun. So it's just like craziness, and he gets the photo. So after that photo was taken, it was picked up by an arts and culture magazine of Newfoundland, the only one. I don't even know if it's still on the go. It made the cover, so it ended up doing exactly what I wanted it to do, but it was because everyone came together to make that happen. It was just magic. It was just the kind of thing that happened around Colette Urban. So I'm so glad that that photo exists. And when I came here to do residence, I rebuilt it. So that's what you'll see over here on this wall. And it's kind of acting like it's picking up, soaking up the sound, which is good. Originally, we were going to rebuild the sign and hang it across here in the same fashion, same loud, obnoxious, but that couldn't happen because that's not the context. And thank you, Doug and Ingrid, for, helping me realize that it's not the same. It's something else now, and it is a prop. It is a prop of yore.
But I think another thing too is that when we had conceptualized this exhibition, Colette was going to do some performances, and she was working on a performance called Moth, which had to do with wearing all these lights and walking through the dark. And we had decided that she was going to perform it at Beacon Hill Park because Beacon, it's Beacon, right? Light. So unfortunately, she didn't fully realize that piece. But so we actually ended up, Jerry Lynn and Doug were able to remount the Full Tilt letters here in Beacon Hill Park. So we did that as a kind of an homage to Colette. And there's an image in the brochure of that. So, and it sort of
looks a lot like
it mimics when the original installation at Full Tilt.
But I cried a lot making these letters, especially
there's
the letter
videos.
L's. The letter L's.
She's
I don't
like,
know
there's
why.
something about the letter L.
It's true. Every time I started working on it, I was like, oh my God. But it was part of the mourning and grieving process.
Yeah,
I really
sure.
do.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
Do I have to go?
No, come back. Two more things we're going to talk about. Just one, I just want to mention the parkas that are hanging. There's 3 parkas there, and there's some here as well. These are traditional Newfoundland and Labrador clothing. They're felted parkas. They're hand stitched and embroidered. They all have fox fur on them. And the 3 over there, since I moved to Newfoundland, I've been collecting them. They're not really worn that much anymore by people.
Just us.
Yeah, just us. We're trying to bring it back. Yeah, pretty much. But they all have these, they're just beautiful objects. So,
I'll wear mine.
what's that?
I'll
You wear yours.
Yeah, see, it's not
There's a little baby one
I'm
here
sorry.
as well. Look at these incredibly beautiful handcrafted objects that really, I think, represent
How cold it can
speak
get.
to what it's like to live in Newfoundland, Labrador. It's pretty cold there. So, and then lastly, over in the kind of little reading room area over there, we have Newfoundlandia and a lot of books and information about Newfoundland and Labrador and performance art. I pulled a bunch of books. I inherited Colette's library, so there's a bunch of books on performance and art and various things. So have a look, you know, enjoy it. Everything over there, I brought a bunch of like things from Newfoundland that have price tags on them, like hand knit socks for $8. If you see anything with a price tag, you can buy it. You can buy it for the same price that I bought it for in Newfoundland. So beautiful like mittens for like $12 that somebody hand knit. So we're sharing the love here tonight, people. And that's, and just thank you for the open space.
Really.
You guys have been like,